What's up, Jaguars? Mr. Crowder here. We're going to tackle a new text, and I know this looks just like a Word document, but this is from our textbook, and it is only available online. So, if you look in Google Classroom, I have created a link to this document so you can reference it to take care of the assignment. But I will use this video and probably another one because this is a little long to read this out loud to you. So, this is from Through My Eyes by Ruby Bridges. 1 year in an all black school. When it was time for me to start kindergarten, I went to the Johnson Lockett Elementary School. My segregated school was fairly far from my house, but I had lots of company for the long walk. All the kids on my block went to Johnson Lockett. I loved school that year, and my teacher, Mrs. King, was a warm and encouraging. She was black, as all the teachers in black schools were back then. Mrs. King was quite old, and she reminded me of my grandmother. What I didn't know in kindergarten was that a federal court in New Orleans was about to force two white public schools to admit black students. The plan was to integrate only the first grade for that year. Then, every year after that, the incoming first grade would also be integrated. In the late spring of my year at Johnson Lockett, the city school board began testing black kindergartners. They wanted to find out which children should be sent to the white schools. I took the test. I was only 5, and I'm sure I didn't have any idea why I was taking it. Still, I remember that day. I remember getting dressed up and riding uptown on the bus with my mother, and sitting in an enormous room in the school board building, along with about 100 other black kids, all waiting to be tested. Apparently, the test was difficult, and I've been told that it was set up so that kids would have a hard time passing. If all the black children had failed, the white school board might have had a way to keep the schools segregated for a while longer. That summer, my parents were contacted by the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. The NAACP is an old and well respected civil rights organization. Its members work to get equal rights for black people. Some people from the NAACP came to the house in the summer. They told my parents that I was one of just a few black children to pass the school board test, and that I had been chosen to attend one of the white schools, William Frantz Public School. They said it was a better school and closer to my home than the one I had been attending. They said I had the right to go to the closest school in my district. They pressured my parents and made a lot of promises. They said my going back to William Frantz would help me, my brothers, my sister, and other black children in the future. We would receive a better education, which would give us better opportunities as adults. My parents argued about what to do. My father, Abram, didn't want any part of school integration. He was a gentleman and feared that angry segregationists might hurt his family. Having fought in the Korean War, he experienced segregation on the battlefield, where he risked his life for his country. He didn't think that things would ever change. He didn't think I would ever be treated as an equal. Lucille, my mother, was convinced that no harm would come to us. She thought that the opportunity for me to get the best education possible was worth the risk, and she finally convinced my father. Ruby was special. I wanted her to have a good education so she could get a good job when she grew up, but Ruby's father thought his child shouldn't go where she wasn't wanted. There were things I didn't understand. I didn't know Ruby would be the only black child in the school. I didn't know how bad things would get. I remember being afraid on the first day Ruby went to the France school. When I came home and turned on the TV set, and I realized that at that moment the whole world was watching my baby and talking about her. At that moment, I was most afraid. Now, that's by Lucille Bridges. My mother breaks the news. When September came that year, I didn't start first grade at William Frantz. The lawmakers in the state capital, Baton Rouge, had found a way to slow down integration. So I was sent back to my old school. I didn't know if I was ever supposed to go to school anywhere else, so being back at Johnson Lockett was fine with me. All through the summer and early fall, the state legislatures fought the federal court. They passed 28 new anti-integration laws. They even tried to take over the public school system. The Louisiana governor, Jimmy H. Davis, supported the segregationists. He said he would go to jail before he would allow black children in white schools. He even threatened to close all the public schools rather than see them integrated. The federal court, led by federal district court Judge Skelly Wright, unyielding in his commitment to upholding the law of the land and in his dedication to equal opportunity for all Americans, would block segregationists again and again. J. Skelly Wright struck down the state's new integration laws as unconstitutional. School integration would proceed. Praise the Lord.